Can you hear me now?
I can.
Hi, good morning or good afternoon.
Been crazy, right?
Yes, it has.
Yeah, so we were supposed to do this on Thursday and things got crazy for me. And then yesterday was crazy for you. Um,
Yes,
it's just that's what's going on. But it's so nice to finally chat with you.
I know. You
It seems,
too.
it seems like you saved my last deal and you guys are saving another one.
Well,
I'm so confused about what's going on. So I know other people are too.
yeah, it's a lot. It's every day is a change. So
Every day.
almost, yeah.
I couldn't imagine. I know that real estate, we changed, like we were all aiming for April 9th and then March happened. And then we were essential, then we became non-essential. And our governor said one thing and then Mecklenburg County did something different. So I just sat at home for like a week until they figured it out.
Oh, okay. Yeah. We get updates every day, whether it be with Chase or, USA or US Bank. It's hard trying to keep up with the different guidelines and stuff. But as far as FHA, we haven't really heard anything with them. We're just implementing our own overlays.
So you said two things. So FHA, have they made a lot of changes to, like, none? What were the requirements before all of the shenanigans?
Well, I mean, their guidelines is still their guidelines. They go as low as 500. Anything below 580 is 10% down, and where you get the different score requirements is based on the company you work with, because they have their own overlays that they're willing to take that kind of risk for.
And that's what it is like it's a risk to
Mhm.
depend on where the money is coming from. Because the last client I sent you was done and they decided they didn't want to do something that was a new requirement for that down payment assistance.
Mhm.
They were no longer done. So
Right.
that was, and then you sent me the email. It's like, we're still doing down payment assistance. And it prompted me to ask, like, hey, what's going on with this? And you were like, nothing. We're still doing it. And I was like, no way. He told me it is gone. And so.
And I think it's just because they're trying to save their relationship instead of trying to be transparent. It's easier just to be transparent and just say, hey, this is what's going on. It's affecting all of us, different mortgage
Yeah.
companies. So
If he would have broke it down and said, it's not me, it's my manager or the owner, but this is what is happening, I suggest you take them to, I heard they emailed out a list of lenders that are still working the program and they're no longer on the list. If they would just been honest and said, hey, I want to work with you in the future, go to another lender, here's who I recommend, that would have been a much easier pill to swallow. But she cried. I spoke with her mama. I don't ever speak with anybody's mom. Her mom was like, this is crazy. And I couldn't explain it. So I think she's closing either late next week or early the week after
okay.
because of Easter. But that's the second one you guys have saved.
Well, that's good. I hate that I couldn't do it, because we tried to see if they'll give me an exception, and I was, I don't really do a whole lot of North Carolina down payment assistance programs, but I do North Carolina loans, and so we tried to see if they would give me an exception to do that one, and they was like, no, you have to live in
You
this
directed me to
state.
Terry, who is still
Yes.
under the umbrella. So I'll definitely
Yeah,
still.
she's still under our umbrella, right?
Yeah, I'll still send you business because you're 2 and 2. And I don't like being lied to because it's already crazy enough right now. I'm like, don't give me an answer until you know, or tell me the truth of what you do know.
Yeah, I'm brutally honest sometimes. It doesn't always work in my favor, but
Yeah.
I expect customers to be the same way with me, because it at least helps me to navigate through whatever we're going to deal with by the time we get to underwriting. And that's
Yeah.
the important part.
Mm-hmm.
I like to think of myself as being the attorney. That's how I look at things.
Yeah, you want the evidence. When you're working with our other client, she was like, yeah, she'll go to bat for you. She was like, I know you're seeing it this way, but you should really see it this way. And so I can really, really appreciate that for sure.
Yeah.
So you guys have very minimal overlays. What in the world happened to jumbo loans? Like, did the facial expression says it all, right?
Well, they just, they just suspended it pretty much, because even though we do everything in house, which is typically what other mortgage companies will do, we're correspondent with whether Chase or Fifth Third, Flagstar, or whoever does the jumbo loans, and when they suspend it on their end, is we don't have any place to send our files to. We'd have to service it in house. Now we do service some of our loans, but in order to maintain business, we do sell a lot of our loans.
Yeah, a lot of lenders, I've been at the closing table often, and they're like, well, we're not taking care of the loan. You can call us with questions initially, but you're not writing us the check. I was like,
Right, exactly.
that was fast. Um,
Yeah.
so if someone does want to purchase a home in that price range, how are they doing it now?
Well, I think we have one company that we're able to, filter them through and still get the loan done, but it's I think the scare is just the employment and forbearance. So it's just making sure that we're able to get some type of reassurance that, hey, if we do this loan, that we don't have to buy it back. Because most, a person that's employed now may not be employed 30 days from now. They, their income is reduced or they just don't have any income. And so what people are going to do is what's called a forbearance, which is 3 to 6 months. And that's going to create a whole nother issue in itself, because I've been trying to educate people through social media, like, hey, if you're a homeowner, do not do forbearance. Let's go ahead and refinance your loan. Let's try to consolidate it while you still have the opportunity. So that way you just have one mortgage payment. And so that's what I've been telling people. And business has really picked up in regards to refinancing. It's a lot of business.
I sent out HomeBot emails to all of my past clients, and if I noticed if it turned green at the bottom of the email that they should speak with the lender about refinancing, I was sending them out emails like, hey, you do have other options instead of the forbearance, because the small print is often skimmed over. And if they were to do from what I understand, because I stay in my lane, but from what I understand is if they go to refinance it a year from now and they had that forbearance, then the refi could go a little sideways because it shows they couldn't pay it on time. Is that right? Or
Well, no, I mean, this is a good explanation. So we are all a part of it. It's affecting all of us. But yeah, you typically, if we weren't dealing with this, it would be an issue, but not in the future. But I think what's going to happen is if a person does forbearance, there's a lump sum that's going to be due at the end of that term, whether it's 3 months or 6 months. And so what mortgage companies are telling them that currently hold their loan is, hey, at the end of this term, what you have to do is a modification, but you still have to qualify for that modification. Not everybody's going to be eligible. So that's where our fear is coming from, is like, what is going to happen when they come out of that forbearance? They're going to have a big lump sum that's going to be due. Just getting back to work, if that's the case, still be out of work, and we just wanted some kind of reassurance. And we're still doing business with some companies as long as they're giving us reassurance that we don't have to buy it back.
right. Nobody wants to buy back a loan after it closes.
Yeah.
So
So that's why you see all these scores and stuff, changes, because when they do their examination, they find that people with scores below 620 is a low performing portfolio, and they're much of a higher risk. So that's why you see the higher credit score requirements, because of that factor.
So other than the credit score requirements, are they changing like the DTI and stuff as well, or anything else? So that's just basically what they're changing.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
It's crazy. It's
It
crazy.
is.
There's a lot of people who were trying to fix their credit just to get over that 620, and then those phone calls is like, well, no, you can still get a loan, but let's make sure your file is as pristine as possible now. So
Yeah.
it's interesting.
It is very much so. I have a customer now that thankfully I locked him in less than a month ago.
Mm-hmm.
He was a 570, and we were doing 10% down. Maybe about last week or so, he went up to 580. Because with FHA, 580 and above is where you can put 3.5% down.
Mm-hmm.
But I still have to be creative with him because he needs some kind like 6 months reserve. So that's what we're running across. It's like, okay, yes, they may have the score requirements, but now you may have to have more reserves just in case of emergency. And is what I'm noticing, customers don't have,
Right. I mean, especially if they're going for down payment assistance, it's often because they don't have that. So, have you
Yeah.
seen any down payment assistance programs completely shut their doors, or are they all pretty much operating?
Well, I know here in Georgia, the Clayton County and some of the local offices, because we're all working remotely, they pretty much, have suspended it because there's nobody there that can, process everything.
Oh, wow. So, probably like delayed closings a little bit.
Yeah.
I don't know if we've had that problem here in Charlotte with our House Charlotte program, but I did get a lot of emails from other lenders who were around the same time you sent yours, basically saying we're no longer doing this stuff. And then I was like, what? How is she able to do this? So it's just mind blowing. It's
Yeah.
been so I've been a realtor since 2006,
Okay.
and so mentally I've always had these red flags. Like if I see this happening, then I feel the market is going to shift this way, or a buyer's market is on the horizon.
Yeah.
And then the past 2 weeks, I've sort of sat down a little bit because I don't want to give someone wrong advice. Do you have any red flags that you've seen in the market where you see a shift, or because Atlanta is a metropolitan like Charlotte? Are you seeing the writings on the wall?
I'm not even looking that far because I'm so busy. I don't even want to look into that. I'm
Uh,
just trying to help as many people as quickly as I can and just pray for a change. That's,
yeah. I know this won't last forever. There's no way. So I'm mentally hoping for May. But every time the governor says anything about June, I'm like, hold up, we're still talking about May here. Let's not get ahead of ourselves. It's
I know.
like I was told, my contract ends in May. So
Right. Yeah.
it's been crazy. So you
Because
had
we were late getting started here in Georgia, with our governor. We were late, enforcing to stay in place. And they
how
just
long have you
extended
done
it
it?
until, well, we just the beginning of this month.
Really?
Yeah.
Because I'm like, is it April? Like it's April 10th,
Yeah.
11th. Oh
Just,
wow.
just on the 3rd is when they talked about it and it went into effect Monday. So we're behind.
Wow. So ours was, I would say mid-March, we started getting inklings, and like school shut down. My daughter's school shut down first, and then the following week my son's daycare. And so I was technically working from home then. And then I did the grocery store runs.
Yeah.
The freak out. So I mean, I calmed down. It took me like 2 weeks to calm down, but I'm almost a month now.
No, well, no, we're late.
We're about to go on a family drive.
Oh, okay, that'll be nice to get out the house. You're going to start crazy, I'm sure.
Well, I mean, I quilt and crochet and I garden. So I have 5 garden beds this year, but I haven't left our lot in like 2.5 weeks.
Okay.
Like mailbox and the furthest part of our backyard. This is about
Yeah.
as far as I've been. And I like talking to my neighbors, but sometimes she gets too close to her fence and I start backing up.
Which I'm sure she understands why.
How's your garden doing? It's good. How's yours? Like and like all of my buyer appointments are now online. So lots and lots of Zoom calls where I look classy up top and sweatpants on.
I know. That's what my boyfriend was saying to me. He says, and you still got on your pajama bottoms? I said, well,
I'm
they
like,
just
hey, as far as it goes, I'm not going to do anything else. Have you do you attend your closings down there in Georgia, or do
Well,
you?
they're not allowing anyone to go, not even the agents.
Yeah, that happened to me the third week of March. I had like all the closing gifts ready, and they said, nope, you can't come. So I was outside with my hand sanitizer just waiting for the keys, you know. So, you know,
Well,
it's
we were actually getting ready to go into virtual closings anyway. That we have to delay rolling out. And it's just, odd that this happened, early on. But now that this is taking place, we're still going to move forward with rolling out virtual closings. We're just trying to go in a different direction with how we handle all of our closing packages and everything. So
virtual, like signing the documents.
yeah, where they don't have to really go into the office. Everything can be done from the comfort of their own home, and everything the fun, just virtual.
That'll be sweet.
I know, right?
That'll be sweet. I remember the days of hanging out by the fax machine, waiting for offers and stuff. So, you know, so it's just awesome how much it's changed. It's
Mm-hmm.
I don't virtual closings, man. I've had some issues pop up at the closing table, like random stuff,
Mm-hmm.
and virtually, I don't know how that would be handled, but I guess they'll figure it out. There's always going to be kinks.
Just still be the same way.
Mhm.
Yeah, it'll still be handled the same way. I think we also have some pilots that have been, in place already with a few people that have been doing it for a while now. So I think it's going smoothly. They're probably going to roll it out maybe next week or so. Who knows? I don't know.
You said they were going to put it back for a while. I was thinking like months. You're like next week. I mean, that'd be nice. That'll be nice.
Oh, yeah, because our goal is actually going to be, I think, sometime this month or the beginning of May, but I think they're going to roll it out sooner, since they've already had a couple of test pilots and everything went well with that. So we'll see how that goes.
Sweet. So you've had like a lot of refis for sellers. How do they know if they should refi? Like if this wasn't going on in the world right now and they're looking at their mortgage statement, how do they know it's time to call you?
Um, so it just depends on the customer needs, basically.
Mhm.
Anyone that's, near retirement before they retire, I always recommend to refinance, because once you retire, you have that retirement income and Social Security, and that's not enough if you sit in a $300,000 house. Because I have a customer that was trying to relocate from California, and she qualifies as long as she was working, but based on her retirement income, she wasn't eligible. So I would always recommend someone that's near retirement to do it. And also, if you just have a lot of debt, our house is an operating asset, and if we have built-in equity from making all those payments, you want to go ahead and consolidate your bills to keep your credit in line intact, and just have a lower payment. You'd be surprised how much you save. And I know a lot of people get hung up on, well, what is my interest rate? What is my interest rate? The interest rate is what you pay over the life of the loan.
Mhm.
It's not what you're going to see as far as your immediate savings, as far as your monthly payment is concerned. It's really every 10,000 is like $10 payment difference, if that much. And people don't understand that until I go over with them when it's time to lock the loan, the difference as far as the cost is concerned. They're like, oh no, give me the higher rate. Because once you explain it to them and they actually see, then it makes sense. And you can always make extra payments, biweekly payments, and pay it off a lot sooner than the 30-year term that you're going under. So yeah, I always recommend to do it soon, especially if you have a lot of debt, because you don't want to, have 50% debt ratio. You want to keep it as low, below 30% as possible.
Awesome. 30%.
Yeah.
Student loans, some people are like, what?
I know, I see all the time. Yeah, them student loans, ugh, it's always it's challenging trying to work around those. So, but you got
Mhm.
to make it happen.
And people like it's still being included, like 1% of the total student loan is still wrapped in your DTI still.
Well, I don't use the 1%. What I do if I can get the customer to call with me on the phone, I'll call and speak to the servicer to have them provide me for a letter that's called extended level payment plan, and it's a lot cheaper than doing 1%. It's spread over a 25-year term or 30-year term, and I use that payment. As long as we can get something in writing, we can use that to offset it for FHA. Now, conventional is totally different. If you're on an income-based payment plan, we can use whatever that income payment based payment plan is, as long as we have something in writing.
How many states are you licensed in?
I was 17.
What's the easiest state of the 17 to get a loan? For like
Easy.
The easiest, like the most lenient, or like crazy good down payment assistance or whatever.
Well, I wouldn't look at it as easy. It just depends on the customer, because the program and the guidelines are still the same regardless of what state you live in. It's the customer and their credit score, their debt, it makes a difference.
Yeah. What about our awesome beauticians and barbers? Are they going to see a problem with this, like when it comes to income? And I mean, I know obviously their income is affected, but when it comes to stating their income for a loan, is it going to somehow slow things up for them?
So I have quite a few, beautician, eyebrow people.
Very
So
important people these are.
yeah, most definitely for us, for sure. I wonder how they're handling stuff like this right now, but
I'm getting the most text from like, we still offer some services. I'm like, I'm about to call you.
I know, right? Well, how I've been handling those type of clients is if they've been in business for at least 4 years or more, file your taxes, especially for 2019, because you can only use 1 year tax return if you've been in business for 4 years or more. And anything less than 4 years, we need 2-year tax returns. Otherwise, we can, use the bank statement product, which right now is currently suspended, unfortunately. So we have to, use the tax returns. But when I come across, self-employed, let's do the 1 year tax returns under Freddie Mac, and we can go with that. Make it a lot easier.
I like the fact that you're creative and like you have all this information.
Yes, honey. It's not a day that don't go by that I don't pull up my guidelines. I reference to my guidelines all the time because there's loopholes, and I understand that there's a fight coming on, especially if there's a challenging file, that I need to reference my guidelines to the underwriter. So I'm always prepared before I submit that file. I already know if she's going to come back with any questions. Okay, here's my guideline. This is what I'm following. It can be done, So documentation is so important.
And a lot of people, even on the real estate side, don't know the forms and the documents, and that can make or break a whole transaction just because someone can't read or understand what's going on.
Yeah, I mean, I'm creative enough where I have helped people with foreclosures less than 3 years, bankruptcies less than 2, just extenuating circumstance. You just have to document it, whether it's medical, you have to get your discharge paperwork, although we can't see all your medical reasons, but as long as we have the discharge date to show that you were in the hospital and you received unemployment or medical leave, we can use that. So
good. Well, that's awesome.
Yeah, it's just about documentation.
I met you by chance, and I'm just really happy that that our mutual client made this happen, because it's really hard dealing with lenders who don't know, or they're not going to fight for their clients, because some clients require more work than others. I mean, we have those breeze files where you almost forget you have them because they're so smooth. Then you have those ones that you really have to work on, and it's hard to come by a lender that cares.
Oh yeah. Well, I'm one of those ones that truly care. And if an underwriter tells me that they can't do something, I want to know why you can't do it, because it's about educating me so I won't make that mistake in the future, is why I'm always challenging underwriters. And you have to show it to me in writing. Is it in the guideline? Because I want to see it. And so,
or is this your opinion?
Yeah, exactly. Because they do have their own opinion, which is the part that I hate because they're so judgmental. Like, stick to the guidelines.
Mm-hmm. So you guys don't have any like overlays. You'll let me know if something crazy happens, though, right?
Oh yeah, no, most definitely. Because I have to work through those overlays. Right now, it's 620 straight across the board, whether it's FHA, VA, USDA. I just want to go back to normal. 530 is what we usually do for FHA and VA and USDA.
Sweet. So normal. Just
Yeah, please soon.
awesome. So what I'll do you have a YouTube channel?
I probably do. I can't tell you if I use
Okay.
it.
Well, I will put all of your contact information minus your cell phone number that's in your signature with all the states. So if someone wants to contact you outside of, well, including North Carolina, but everywhere. Do you do New York and Connecticut?
No, honey, that's more training, more. See, what people don't understand, having all these licenses at the end of the year, December, I have to do CE for all of those states.
No, I complain about CE just for North Carolina, and that's why I've been holding out for South Carolina licensing, because I'm like, how often do I go to South Carolina? I don't.
Yeah.
Like, I don't want to do it, and I'm like you, I really want to know what I'm talking about, and that's a whole new collection of contracts and stuff, and I don't want to. It's a big purchase. I don't want to mess up anybody's life.
Yeah. Well, see, I used to just only do a lot of refinances. So that's part of the reason why I have all these licenses. So I'm well versed in refinance. But I wanted to get out of that and just balance between refinance and purchase. So that's why I said, well, I went through all this work to get all these licenses. I'm going to keep my licenses. That was a lot of
very long. Your signature, it's a lot of stuff.
And I have, a team that's always asking me, well, can we add Nevada? Can we add this? And I'm like, really?
People don't understand that real estate is so different in each state. Like I'll have people like from New York, Connecticut, from Florida, they'll call me based on YouTube. I'm like, listen, just North Carolina. I have no idea. Do you have a due diligence period? Like, what is that? And I'm like, I cannot help you. Yeah, it's very different, and it really pays to have a lender who knows what they're doing on the lending side and a realtor that knows what they're doing on the real estate side, because you can get messed up real fast and cry and have your mom cry.
I know. Well, one thing about me, if I don't know, I will find an answer, a solution, at least attempt to, because I just always want to help as many people as I can. Because I understand it can be overwhelming, especially if you're in the middle of doing a deal and you don't want to lose your earnest money. So that is very important too, to make sure that we keep the process going. So, yeah.
What do you tell people when they're like, I want a house and I want to start the process, but I don't want a hard pull on my credit? What do you tell people? I hear that so much. I'm like, you should talk to a lender so we know what price range. And they're like, is it a hard pull? I'm like, yeah, but you really want a house. That's how hard of a pull it is.
Well, let's talk about that, because a lot of people are not aware there's a consumer credit report and then there's a lender credit report. So when we look at our credit report, it's going to be totally different between company to company. So I guess what people are afraid of is when their credits pull, it's going to drop 20, 30 points, but that's just a consumer report. Between mortgage companies and lending institutions, it's only going to drop maybe 1 or 2 points. That's why there's a 14-day window that you're allowed to go shopping without it affecting you any. So a lot of people don't, they're not aware of that. They think, oh, Credit Karma is telling me my score to drop 20 points. And I'm like, it had to change.
Why would Credit Karma do that? That's like so misleading.
They have all these new scoring systems from 1 to 8 or 1 to 10. I can't keep up with them, but it's just all, pertaining to the consumer. And I tell them, I says, I understand that you're looking at Credit Sis, Credit Karma, whatever the name is, but when we pull the credit, it's not going to be the same because we have so many, our report comes with so many different numbers. So when we run it through the automated system, it tells us what kind of risk factor this customer is. So that's why credit reports are going to be different.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because it's scary. I'm like, you have to do it, but why?
Yeah, I know. But I mean, you want to know what you're qualified for, at least what you need to do. You want to at least educate yourself now. Even if you're not ready now, at least you'll be prepared when that lease is up, or at least a month before the lease is up, what you need to do.
Way before that, because it takes me sometimes, depending on your price range, to get a house. Before this all hit, I was like number 19, 20 when submitting offers on houses under 200 or under 250.
Yeah.
It's crazy. So, I mean, now it's a little bit different unless your house is vacant. If it's vacant, it's still just as busy. But
Yeah. I just share my own testimony, when I'm talking to people, because I had, probably 3 bankruptcies, Chapter 13 before I converted to 7, and 2 foreclosures. And I filed bankruptcy in 2014, and 2 years later bought a house. Went from a 5-something credit score to well over 7. And I just share my own personal testimony when I'm doing credit consultation with every customer that I come in contact with. I also help give them advice because a lot of people are not aware that when you pay off your credit card, just wait before the billing cycle comes out, because after the billing cycle goes out to everybody, to Equifax, TransUnion, Experian, that is when they're letting the credit bureaus know what your credit score is. You want to use that credit card the next business day after it's reported to all 3 credit bureaus. Because if you use it, okay, I pay it this month, this day, let me use it the next day. No, it doesn't help you at all. You got
and
to
all
wait
credit
until
cards have their own date too.
yeah, exactly. So I go through that spiel with every customer, try to, manage your cards a little bit better, because if you pull my credit today, all of my credit cards have 0 balances, but I may max it. I have like different cards at different times of the month. So I just try to help people. Most
Wow.
definitely.
It's a lot. So
It is a lot.
I'm glad I'm in the real estate lane.
So what are some of the challenges that you deal with, since you said that you're glad you're in the real estate lane? Because
Well,
I mean,
there's
don't you deal with some challenges too?
There's challenges. I've had people call me like, I'm getting foreclosed on in 2 months. Help me. I've had people have inherited property that has various liens on it, and they don't really know what to do with that. Or like divorces are really hard to deal with. Like I've had to highlight stuff pink and blue and send it to the kids to have it signed before.
Yeah.
Death. I think it's more emotional because you have to listen to what's going on so you can figure out their mind space and then know if they're thinking logically. And recently, like in the past month, I walked away from 2 listings, like because of what's going on and knowing their situation. It just wouldn't be good for them to move right now.
Yeah.
It just
I'm in the middle of doing one now that she was on a VA loan and just had a baby 10 months ago. And they're going through a separation. So he's started the process of getting her off of all of the mortgage and everything. And I just don't know how strong she is or how she's able to deal with it,
Yeah.
She's
Some people are
managing.
like ducks, where they're very calm up top and then they're just moving along, checking off the to-do list. And those people are okay to work with during a crisis situation. But a lot of people, you really have to give them time. And you can't, whenever I bring an agent onto the company, I have to say you can't be commission driven. You really have to think about like the end result for them.
Yeah.
Is the best, because the worst thing that can happen is they buy or sell a house and they hate you a year later. You don't want that. Or they'll say Ashley's the worst realtor ever, don't ever talk to her. You don't want that. And it's bad karma. So
yeah. And then it's word of mouth too, just based on their experience. So you want to try
like
to
in my mind, that other lender our mutual client. Just imagine, she has friends that are looking to buy property.
Yeah.
And it's one of those businesses where you really have to be, like you said earlier, brutally honest, because people will respect that way more.
Yeah.
Especially right now.
Yeah, most definitely. I mean, we're talking about people's finances, their money, their livelihood, you know. So
And it's supposed to be secure. Like the going joke right now is, would you want to be quarantined in this house? And that's the joke. It's like, yeah, actually, we fell in love with our home again. Like during this past month, I'm like, I actually like this. It's just not bad.
Because you probably was so busy, you really didn't get a chance to enjoy it as much.
Yeah, I had 10 closings, and I don't have an assistant.
Oh wow!
So I was like, oh my goodness. So now I'm able to like sit back a little bit because I'm forced to, and like, hey, this is actually pretty good. I need to clean more often, but yeah, it's pretty good. So
yeah.
But thank you so much. I do have someone I have to send you. I'll send over the information today for you to, because it's Easter weekend, so I don't know how much people are working and stuff, but I'll send you over the information, and maybe that will pan out as well. But
yeah, I mean, we're all working, even our underwriters.
It's Saturday.
When I tell you, well, I mean, business is really busy. If I showed you this list that we have of people trying to refinance, it's extensive. Like Navy Federal, their turn times is probably 120 days now, turn time. At least that's what I hear. It's more, yeah, it's long.
Lord.
Because when the rate started dropping before all this started, people were, trying to take advantage of it. And then now that we're in the middle of it, yeah. So, I mean, our turn time right now, I think, is 45 to 60 days for refinances because we're trying to focus primarily on purchase business because we have a deadline to meet with those. So we've hired some contractors to come in and focus on the refinance portion of it.
Wow.
Yeah, it's crazy busy.
I tell people, I'm like, things are going crazy in the world, but people are still getting married, getting divorced, having babies, getting jobs, relocating. Like life is still going on. It's just where does your living situation fall in that? But it's still, life is, work is still there. So
yeah,
it's just crazy right now.
Yeah, I don't foresee that it's gonna be as bad as it was in 2008 or 9 when we had that real bad recession. I don't see it being that bad.
What's really weird is I look back at the challenges. That was definitely terrible. But I think that the TRID guideline, that threw people for a loop. Like people were mad. Like everybody was mad. Realtors, my friend didn't do this. Attorneys were confused. I think the TRID was the nightmare. It was like a 6 months of confusion for people.
Yeah, it was.
Go back 3 days, closing date. It's not that hard.
Yeah, but I think it's helped to keep everything stabilized. Yeah, most definitely. Yeah. It's helped to stabilize the economy. You don't see too many foreclosures or anything like that. So yeah. Still, is it now? Do you feel it's a seller's market or a buyer's market?
So it was flattening. Anything above 350 had more days on the market. Anything under 250, 230, if it was moving ready, was flying off the shelf. Like it was multiple offers within a couple days. We might run into appraisal issues. But there's a lot of buyers waiting on the fence right now because they're anticipating, lower prices. I've had a lot of new construction, like builders reach out to me with crazy deals, like more closing costs, agent incentives, which I usually pass on to the buyer anyway, but lots of crazy incentives like 4% commission, 5% commission. And, so I think that, some builders in different price ranges are feeling it, but I mean, people are still going to move. Rent is still going up, even though they're not paying it right now.
Yeah, it is. I know.
It's still going
I know. That's sad though.
Yeah, it's definitely sad. you hear it from both ends, like investors, you hear it, and then you hear it from people. And then I, I've had questions like, is that stimulus check going to count towards their income this year? And like, I don't know how that's going to work. I don't know if it's going to, I don't know. It's a lot of I don't
I
knows.
think I think it is because isn't that something that has to be paid back at the end of the year because it's part of their income?
I'm not sure because unemployment, don't you pay back unemployment? So if you're getting $600 a week, don't you have to pay that back somehow?
I think
In the
the
tax?
only time you have to really pay that back is if there's an overpayment with unemployment. But as far as the stimulus, I don't know because I'm not going to be one of those ones that's going to get it. So
It's when it came when all the numbers were released, my husband said, "Well,
no.
it's a blessing,
That's
and
what I said too. I was like, oh well.
it's a blessing. The money needs to go to definitely people who need it and stuff."
Yeah.
I saw
Yeah.
all the nightmares with small business loans, and I was like, I'm not even going to try to throw my hat in that bucket because I don't, being on hold for 2 hours and it's not Disney, it's not for me.
Yeah.
I'll be on hold for that long, but I don't know. It's going to be, it'll be over in a month. I think some people will start going back to work and stuff, but it's going to take, I think the fall market is going to be crazy. Like a lot of people are going to decide to move all the babies and stuff in 9 months.
So you're giving it a month for all this to be over, you think?
In
Really?
North Carolina, I feel like we'll go back to school and work.
Oh.
It keeps on saying June, but I'm praying for May 1st. But I think that it'll get more lax. I mean, I don't know.
I know here that school is out for the rest of the year.
Yeah, I think we're
Unfortunately.
out till May 15th, and then it was like 3 weeks left. So it's like, are we going to go back for 3 weeks when they've already waived EOG testing? So
I feel so bad for all the prom and the graduations. That is just so heartbreaking. I know there's a lot of teenagers that's probably crying right
worked
about
so hard to
that.
make
Yeah.
passing GPA. There's probably going to be some really cute TikToks and YouTube live graduations and Zoom. There's going to be some really creative people out there and stuff. So they'll find their way to maybe some
Yeah.
summer parties.
I don't know because with everybody doing social distancing, I don't know how that's going to work out still.
Well, thanks again so much for chatting with me today. I'll definitely be in touch, and I'll send you that contact information for.
Okay. Well, thanks for the invite. I appreciate it. It was good meeting you.
You too. I'll talk to you soon.
Take care, hon. Bye-bye.
Bye.